This is the Remix Morning Show. Right here on Black Power Media. And listen, we got a great show for y'all today. We got great hosts today, so we're going to come with it today. Alright, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, but let me introduce you to the host with the most. We got no other than Dr. Jerry Ball. And burn it down, Kim
Wheel it up, Ear Doctor.
Wheel it. What's good?
That was dope. What was that?
That was a little bit of Fela. A little bit of Fela.
Lovely.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Y'all looking nice today. I see you.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, let me look at Jared. Jared might be looking nice today. Yeah, Jared. Like we got the contrast going. Love it.
You see, yeah. Bright.
Everybody looks good. Everybody in the chat looks good.
Everybody. We all look good.
My dog is laid out on the floor looking good. Everybody looks good.
Shout out to Roberto.
Chilling
In
the cut. He been a little bit. I think he jumped the fence last night. I went to open the door to pick up a package, and he was staring me in my face at the front door.
On the
I was like, I was like, what you doing out here? You supposed to be out back. He was like,
nice.
Roberto said I had to bend the block real quick. You know what I'm saying? Had to see what was going on around here in the tree line streets.
Got business to take care of. You know what I'm saying?
He knew he'd be okay. It's a safe area.
Hey, speaking of showing love, starting off early, Infinite Content, $20. I just got blessed. Here you all go. Well, thank you for your blessings.
Well, thank you very much. Right on.
That's how you start a Tuesday off. This right. What is it? Giving Tuesdays? Is that what they call it? Sound like that?
I think that's one of the new holidays that happens after Black Friday, Cyber Monday, then Giving Tuesday, right? Or Black Friday, Small Business Saturday. Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday. So I don't think every Tuesday is a Giving Tuesday.
Hey, let's keep it going. We do Giving Tuesday every Remix Morning Tuesday.
We'll take it.
Hey, I got called a Panani playing basketball on the court the other day.
You got?
Yeah, I didn't want to say the other word, kitty cat.
And you should have took it as the compliment that it was, because Punani is strong out here.
That's what I'm telling you. Listen, I feel you on that. But yo, let me lift this up a little bit. All right, so yeah, I was out there playing ball. I usually, go out to the park sometime, play ball. Next thing you know, this dude come on, start hacking somebody. One dude was like, "Yeah, man, I'm out of here, man. He's fouling." And he was like, "Oh, you sucker." I was like, "Well, he is kind of a sucker." I was like, "Damn, he ain't even really get out here yet." Next thing you know, he hacked another dude. And I'm like, "Damn, son, you hacking like crazy out here." And then the one dude was a Mexican dude. He was like, "Man, I'm out of here." He's like, and then he's like, "You a Mexican Panani. You a Mexican Panani." And then I was like, "Man, let me get my ball. I'm out of here. I see dude got some mental issues." He was like, "I got my own ball, see?" I was like, well, and I ain't say nothing. Because, back in the day, you be like, "Who you calling the bam, bam, bam?" And then we get into it. But I was like, you know what? This dude is going through some stuff. So I just kindly grabbed my speaker, my ball, and I left the court.
Look at that. The height of maturity, Ear Doctor. 1996 Ear Doctor would be very proud.
Oh my God.
No, 1996 Ear Doctor would be looking at him saying, "I agree. You are."
You bugging. You don't know that 1996 Ear Doctor. He was different. There ain't nobody mess with me. Big up to Anna Hart, $20. Share the blessing.
Thank you, Anna.
I always went out to the court mob deep with my crew. That's just, you ain't never have to worry about none of that.
But that's the question. Nabi is asking, was he wearing a BPM t-shirt though?
Oh, see.
Or was he throwing? He must have been throwing. Well, I'm assuming dude wasn't, and he was throwing up bricks and got upset, and that's because that's usually when the fouling starts. When somebody can't handle something.
Not even. He just came out on some hack alert. I mean,
wow,
crazy.
He was looking for a fight. He wanted to fight somebody yesterday, obviously, because you was the third person that he started some nonsense with, right? So he wanted to go hands, period.
And when I left, he was on the court by himself, just shooting the ball up.
That's what happens. See, look at your energy. Look at what his energy brought him: loneliness and anger and frustration.
How was your weekend?
So It was a good
You ain't
weekend.
do nothing, Kim. Stop
I know that, but it was still a good weekend.
That's what
Because I
made
ain't
it a
do
good
nothing
weekend.
don't mean it wasn't a good weekend, doctor. I had a fun weekend. I had a fantastic weekend.
I wish I didn't do anything.
Where is you? Yo, you've been out here running the streets, Jared Ball. Where you
Jared be
been?
outside.
It's been a little busy for me a little bit lately, but then the soccer season is starting back up, so we were at tournaments in between, and then running around, people making fun of my print shirt. That was from a previous yesterday, Professor Jared's shirt.
They ain't got no style. They just ain't got no style.
They hate it's my favorite shirt, nice. And people hate on it. And whenever I get invited somewhere special, I wear it. And so I had it on for the talk I posted yesterday, but that was from I think a couple of years ago now in Amsterdam. But yeah, people make fun of it. But yeah, no, soccer tournaments, extended practices. Baby girl had a nice left-footed goal this weekend.
Hey. So is this travel soccer? Your daughters play club soccer?
Yeah, she's she plays with the local high school team and then club also. So it's a lot of soccer, and they're just transitioning from the indoor to the outdoor. And so it's just busy, and then running around with Saturdays with Renee and her big time work with this Cop Cities joint is the nationalization of Cop City is dope. So shout out to her. And so
Renee
it was
was
a fun
on
weekend.
Letter Hack. Renee was on
That's
Letter
right.
Hack last night, Renee? Congratulations. That was a dope interview, and he did a really cool drawing of you, and you were wonderful as usual. So y'all go check that out if you haven't seen Renee's interview on Letter Hack. Go
and
give
the
that
same thing
a
she
whirl.
was on with Yuri Smoother as well, right?
1+1.
Shout out to Yuri.
Yo, Jared keeps some powerful women around him. You notice that?
That's the only way to. That's the way to do it. I'm trying to be the black radical Cat Williams. I fully agree with him on that when he said, I like to be around women. And when I'm in a room and there's people behind me talking in the corner, I want it to be women. And I was like, yeah, I like that.
Sense. I mean, speaking of, make sure y'all check out Sundays. I had two sisters with me on Sundays as we.
That's right.
We got into some hip hop people, not even hip hop, just people, musicians that did something for the culture, and we went through the decade. So. Yeah, big up, sisters. Big up to all the beautiful sisters out there. Appreciate y'all, man. Without y'all, would be no us.
And then shout out to my new homeboy, Hari, who came through quickly on Sunday as well to talk about the Democratic Party censoring protest of Palestine, of the genocide in Palestine. And then I got another email, saying that Jared on the Hickory Ridge Village Board is inappropriately trying to bring Palestine into the. So when we showed up at our Zoom meeting last night, this was my background.
I knew it.
And then somebody said, well, we should, and they rightfully said, they were saying, one of our board members was saying, well, there's an attempt to cut the education budget here in Howard County, and maybe the board should step up and make a statement. So I raised my hand. I said, so while I'm in profound disagreement and disappointed in my colleagues and my neighbors for not having that same energy when it comes to Palestine, I absolutely agree that it is appropriate for us to make a statement in defense of what is equally troubling students, because again, my daughters are reporting and other young people in this county are reporting they can't have any discussions of Palestine in the classroom. And there's no discussion of what's happening there. And when a group of students at a neighboring high school tried to bring it up, they were told that it would have to be, they could only raise it in the context that was appeasing to other groups of students. I mean, it's just really wild out here. So yeah, I think, and so I was trying to make the point very quickly that there is absolutely a connection between efforts to reduce the budget here in this overflowing with resources county that is routinely voted as one of the best counties in the country to live in. And they're talking about cutting the budget. And I said, so I was trying to make the point that that is absolutely connected to the inability or to the suppression of discussion.
Oh, you got that in. I see you.
I was trying to, and I mean, but it's not.
see you.
And to be honest, like I understand where I've always understood. Part of my trauma racially is because of my experience in this tree-lined streets, and so I really get how people feel underneath the surface. But when it's brought out like this, like it makes it harder for me to look at them and to walk around and see people on paths and like, hey neighbor, and well, let's build a better community as we work on this issue and that issue. But then when something like this is raised, they're like, nah, I don't want to talk about that. It's divisive was the word that was used.
Well, doesn't Palestine fall under the veil or umbrella of social studies when it comes to education? Can it be brought up in that class?
They don't teach that. They never think about it. Did you ever learn about what was happening in Israel and Palestine in high school, middle school? It was talked about on the news, widely reported on the news, but it was never brought up in social studies. In fact, I don't even remember studying really the recent history of that area beyond, I guess, the partition, right? So no, it is withheld from American students with intention and to be shaped by the mainstream pro-Israel narrative. But I'm wondering if the events that happened in DC with that soldier setting himself on fire, will that now bring it into the discussion, at least in the school setting? This is a national news event. These kinds of incidents usually don't happen. So do you think that will help bring it or thrust it into
a good question.
your daughter's conversation in school?
So social studies is only old history, nothing new. We ain't talking about nothing going on today.
I wouldn't even say
education
that.
Now is so crazy. It's ridiculous.
No, they do contemporary stuff. They make reference to contemporary, just not this. Like they'll talk about the presidential elections. They do these little quizzes about which candidate is likely to be the one that supports your politics and all that kind of stuff. And so they do some of the contemporary. So it's decidedly on issues like this that they don't want to have any discussion. And again, I am with the idea that in a public school, even my politics, I'm with the idea that even my politics should be balanced out or measured out, or debated at least. But there should be discussion, and where people differ, they should just be able to politely say we disagree and move on. Like it doesn't have to lead to people fighting each other in the classroom, and it doesn't have to lead to even a professor doing or a teacher doing what I do in my classrooms, which is be open and very honest and biased in my delivery of the issue. Like it could be done in a relatively, however you want to call it, quote unquote, balanced way, but allowing students to grapple with what's actually happening. And they don't, because the idea would be these are supposed to be the future. And the idea that we're not at all preparing them and then I'm getting the same thing in my college class. The students there are reporting the same thing. So at no point, it is, I think, obviously by design, but
a clone society, really.
But an ignorant one.
Yeah.
And one where the woman that chastised me last night is in part trying to say that the board shouldn't take up this issue because people are uninformed. It will be divisive, and we're not experts. And I'm like, speak for yourself. Not that I'm an expert, but I'm saying, but the idea that we can't be informed and have an informed discussion because I'm on the Hickory Ridge Village Board is absurd. It's absurd. So, or the idea that we can't have informed discussions, even disagreement. Like if you're a Zionist and want to lay out in a principled, at least, respectful way, I'm a Zionist and I'm for what Israel's doing, then you should be able to say that at a public whatever, and defend it and have it discussed or debated or whatever, and then you should have to or be able to withstand somebody saying, I do not agree.
The biggest divide at the Hickory Village or whatever group this is going to be if y'all have like a new builder come in and somebody wants to build a house.
Oh no, that's the real issue. It's the contractors.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's the only divide they want. They don't want to bring no politics, no religion, no none of that in there.
But they don't even want that. They were telling us
they don't want to. They don't because it's a clone society. They don't want nobody thinking outside the box. Everybody has their same houses built the same way. They lawns manicured a certain way, not too high on the grass. And that's just how this, that society is. Big up to STRYN. I don't even know what that is.
What up, Stren?
$19.
Thank you.
Good looking super sticker.
So,
But
Jared,
I feel like you're saying
Hickory Ridge-
clone Tyrone society, and I don't.
Is the
agree.
advisory council under Columbia Association or separate from Columbia Association?
Under. So
Okay.
we represent the local village, and this is part of their argument that Jared, you're doing too much. None of this has to do with our local village, and then the Columbia Association is over that and over the entire city, so to speak. And I don't get that they're talking about it there either. I don't get that it's being discussed anywhere. And because when I go to the handful of events that I've gone to around here, and what I forgot to bring up last night, though, I'm just reminded is that, and I even had it in my notes, is that meanwhile the local library is welcoming the Moms of Liberty
Oh,
a couple weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? So like when do we get to discuss? So it is a real challenge for me to navigate these spaces. I am not accustomed to these spaces, and to be the more I'm confronted with what I would have always assumed are the politics of my neighbors, the more, I don't want to be misinterpreted here, but the more hostile I feel. But this is part of this is but this is like dragging. I'm having a whole like reflection on childhood. This is reminding me exactly what the problems I had growing up out here. That despite the mythology, there's an undercurrent of all these conservative white politics, and they bubble up like this from some polite little "you can't talk about Palestinians" to overt support for Moms of Liberty to overt removal of people from the library when they wanted to protest what was happening in Palestine. I mean, so
It was supposed to break you by now, Jared. Like, I mean, to hear you speak this way is interesting because I know you grew up out there, right? Like I'm from Howard County. Jared is from Columbia. Okay. Like, so Jared,
what's the break the difference of that?
I mean, so I'm from Laurel, from North Laurel, which Laurel is right adjacent to PG County, right adjacent to Anne Arundel County. Not to say that there's big, huge differences between these places, but it is a bit of a culture shift, right? So Columbia is the seat of HOCO, and HOCO is white. It's affluent. You know, it under the the veil of diversity. There is some diversity, but where the whites want to live unto themselves, they absolutely do. And I want to say it's kind of closed. I would say Howard County is closed in a way, but regardless. So, but it was supposed to break you by now, Jared. You were supposed to buy into all this, kumbaya, racial unity. But when you are Black and you grow up in that, the whites make it clear. Like, it is clear. I've lived in Missouri. I've lived in Oklahoma. I've lived in different places around this country. I have never been called a nigga more times than I have been in my hometown.
Oh,
you know what
deep.
I mean?
Yeah,
that's real. That's some real. Like when your mother referred to Laurel as them Laurel crackers, I had to laugh because
that's how I learned that word in association with Laurel. She was like, these crackers out, and I was like, wow, that's.
And there are pockets of Blackness even within Laurel. Well, when I grew up in it, but regardless, I mean, they were supposed to break you by now, Jared. And I can understand you being at your age, having lived out there, not your whole life, but majority of your life, and feeling more hostile to it. It's that makes perfect sense to me.
And so it's just wild it's just wild. It's just wild. And then I'm used to building in spaces like we're in now, so I don't. It's the
see, you're in your space. Outside, that's outside. Like when you go outside, that's outside. That's what. Listen, if I go outside, everybody's wearing blue, black, and tan. I come out in this. You know what I'm saying? And they like, oh, you're too bright.
Wow.
You're too bright. So whenever it's not like I said, it's not looking the same all around, then you're the one who's ousted. Like your intellect. So when it comes to that, like they're not thinking about, oh well, this could it's going to divide us because we don't believe the same thing. They're like, let's all just believe the same thing. Let's all be Christian. Let's all blah 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 blah, and then we can work together. It's times when I didn't stand up for the flag. There's times when they started praying, I was just looking like, y'all finished praying? It's when you know certain things, you don't do what everybody else does. So you just got to accept that and not be in those spaces where they're trying to make you a clone.
Separate wives energy out in Colombia.
That's deep. Yeah, that's very real. Just quickly, I saw a question asking me about the context of the Moms of Liberty. So I wasn't there. And I do know that there were protesters. Hari, who was on with me Sunday, was among them. And but my initial shock. So people got to, like, when we first moved out here in the mid 70s, obviously I don't remember these details, but my mother would report, you would go to local events and you would see, socialist literature and actual leftist literature and stuff like that. And then over the years, there's been a creeping withdrawal of that, and then in a creeping increase of the mega churches and more conservative politics. And then you get, so the fact that the Moms of Liberty would have even found an invitation or been thought it appropriate to set up shop there is still a kind of a shock to me, maybe obviously naive, but it's just a reminder of this devolution, this rightward devolution of politics in the area and in the world and beyond and so on and so forth. And so all I'm saying is, it's just like I joke, whenever I'm confronted with my actual analysis, it's sometimes even a shock.
And speaking of somebody who doesn't need an invite, come out, K. Franklin. What's good?
What's up, Kamal?
Morning, Kamal.
Morning.
Dude looks so smart with all them books, man. God damn. Like, these are my books in the background. Y'all see this?
I know. It's well known that you don't read. I mean,
exactly. I don't read, beloved. I don't. Only thing I read is the stuff on the back of cartons and food I put
and the back of album covers.
Album covers, food I put in my body. That's about it.
Those are valuable things to read, Doctor.
Definitely. I'm gonna have this body for the rest of my life.
But limited.
Oh,
so
man.
I don't know if we want to save it for after we slap the mat,
Yeah,
but I did
that.
want to actually. I think we should come back to what Kim's question was a moment ago about this self-immolation and what its potential impact might be.
Let's do that. Before we do get into our quick break, big up to ZZ Lion Dad, Ear Doctor. The comparison in Georgia is Fulton County, John Creek versus Atlanta. Yeah. I can see that.
Thank you,
very,
ZZ.
very, very YT up there. All right, let's go ahead and take our first break right here on. I got my music ready? Sure don't. So we're going to go back with what we had on the Remix Morning Show.
Remix. Let's get it.
In the dance. Yeah. Big up everybody tuned in right here, right now. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and y'all are tuned into the Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media, in case you didn't know. And if you're in here, go ahead and hit that like button. We got 369 people watching right now on YouTube, and other channels also still watching. So hit that, and also subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, see footage that's rare. Also, you can drop some change right here as y'all been doing this morning. Appreciate that. Appreciate the love. All right, with that said, it's time to talk about some weather. You know what I mean? I know y'all don't know what to do unless I tell y'all what to do when the weather comes out. So let's start off in the ATL. Listen, you might want to pull out East Coast. Just take your umbrellas out today because it's going to rain today. ATL, we got a high of 68 degrees. That's real nice, right? I like that. Let's take it next to DC. They got a high of 62 degrees. And staying a little bit over on the East Coast, a little bit Midwest, let's take it to Chicago. They got a high of 64 degrees. It's hotter in Chicago than DC? That's wild. All right, next, let's take it to Houston, Texas. They got a high of 82 degrees. It's going to be nice and hot over there. And Oakland, West Coast, 61 degrees is the high over there. And now let's take it down to the islands. Let's take it down to Trinidad. They got a high of 82 degrees. And last but not least, let's take it to Mali. Over in the motherland, it's 104 degrees. Now that is hot. I'll tell you what else is kind of hot. This whole thing, it's a hot mess with what they doing on Lifetime with this whole Wendy Williams story. I mean, it's wild. Right now, she's looking at alcohol, as her son would say, or they say the doctors, alcohol-related dementia. It's a type of imperative thing that occurs and results in heavy alcohol consumption over a long period of time. Alcohol use can cause brain damage that affects personal ability to do daily tasks such as cooking, managing their finances, stuff like that. Her diagnosis came 2 years after she left the daytime talk show in 2021, and that was after she was battling with Graves' disease and is swelling due to her lymph. Messed that word up. But yeah, so she has some problems going on. And right now, Lifetime is like, let me make some money off of this. Her son is out here just like spilling the beans so he could get some money. It's a whole mess, man. I know she was known for talking about people, and some might say, that's what she deserves. But this is another sister of ours, even though she got swayed by capitalism and wanted to get her money and all that. Hopefully everything is better. And this whole Lifetime people, the producers talking about, if they knew she was going through this, they wouldn't have rolled cameras. Yeah, right. All right. Anyway, that's the hot mess right there for the day. Now let's get back to the Remix Morning Crew. You know how we do. Yeah.
There will
That
be a
joint
lot of
was a
people.
doozy.
What's that?
Yeah.
It was a
go ahead, go ahead.
doozy. Did you guys watch it?
I don't watch Lifetime.
I don't watch Lifetime either, but I watched that.
I'm not going to condemn the whole channel per se.
Why? Lifetime is for women that want to kill their ex-husbands.
There's never been anything good on that? Okay, I don't know. Maybe I don't watch it either, but I did not watch that. I just know
you on mute, Kamal.
I just think a lot of people from our generation are going to be having a hard time feeling sorry for her, to be honest.
Yeah.
She talked a lot of trash about a lot of people at their worst moments for a long time. But that's it. I hear you, and I don't wish that on her.
Yeah. So. I'm just looking at the whole producers and the Lifetime, like talking about if they lied. I'm like, come on, y'all. Really, y'all love this shit.
If we had known, we would have turned the camera off, please. That's why you turned the camera on.
Exactly.
Basically, I'm gonna be talking about this tonight on Burn It Down with Kim Brown, because I'm looking at it through a variety of lenses. To your point, Jared, no, Wendy Williams is not a sympathetic figure, but it's interesting to see, when disability presents itself in your life, and at that stage, what is the reaction? What's the reaction from your family? What's the reaction from your public? And it's not just disability. I mean, Old Girl is a talented drunk. I am quite familiar with very experienced alcoholics. I have not seen a drunk that talented since Uncle So-and-so. You know what I mean?
I was about to say since Aunt So-and-so. I got the aunt that could handle it, boy. I tell you what.
Dog, talent, that alcoholism is something very special. So I'm gonna have some commentary on that tonight on Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Join me to talk about that, please. Right. Kamal, your thoughts? New Yorker, Wendy was right there in your sphere, so to speak.
I think she was like after my sphere of like when I stopped listening to talk radio. So I only heard sort of tidbits about. I knew who she was, obviously, but I wasn't like deep into like, oh, let me pop on the Wendy Williams show, or whatever like that. So obviously, feel bad about I wasn't here for whatever the presentation was. I had to run to the bathroom. So I don't know what her disability is. I just want to be honest, whatever. I feel bad for her. But I agree with Jared. As far as I know, there's a lot of folks who talk trash. This is a money-making venture. I think people are stock. I mean, I think everything these days is about, obviously, there's no privacy anymore. There's no such thing as privacy. I just was doing some text messaging with somebody and they immediately sent it to somebody else. And it's like anything you say or do, it's meant for somebody else's consumption. So just always keep that in mind. Like these folks are not looking for being consoled. They're looking like, how do I use this to my advantage? So there's a lot of that going on. And I guess this fits right into it.
I just remember when Whitney Houston read her like a magazine.
Whoa.
All right,
Bro, but the irony is that Wendy was on coke at the same time. The same time she was on the radio dragging Whitney for being on coke. Bitch, you was sniffing coke too.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for our weather report. I'll catch y'all next break. Peace.
That was the weather report?
Yes, you missed it.
He said it's going to be hot outside in parts of the world.
Yes,
and it's raining in other parts. And Wendy is alcohol-related dementia or something. Yes. I think was it called
dementia,
I think that's how it went. Dementia, yeah.
That's dementia.
Alcohol-related dementia.
Alcohol-related.
Where was you at? The bathroom.
Break, right? Bathroom break.
He just got on and had to take a bathroom break.
Well, obviously, Kamau hit the ground running this morning.
100 miles in.
You know, I think we all had some stress this morning. Needed a minute to catch up. So, all right, but let's slap the map and get into some news.
Peace and good morning, remixers. Welcome to Black Power Media. It's the Tuesday edition of the Remix Morning Show. Today is Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. We got a great program in store for you. Look at our constellation of hosts we have assembled here on screen. Dr. Jared Ball, Kamau Franklin, Kim Brown, Ear Doctor in the Cut, remixers in the chat. We need them thumbs on them thumbs up, boys and girls and non-binary folks. So please engage with the content, like, share, subscribe, support us. Shout out to everyone that has already run us some super chats earlier this morning. ZZ Lion Dad, Infinite Content, Stren. I think we had somebody else. I remember it in a little bit, but thank you all. Keep those super chats flowing. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do so. Patreon.com/Black Power Media. Go get your BPM gear at blackpowermedia.org. We've got some good stories in store for y'all. I think we're going to start with the big one that came out of DC on Sunday afternoon. I'm assuming everybody on Instagram shared this video because when I popped open Instagram, I kept getting the sensitive content warning, sensitive content warning, sensitive. I said everybody shared this video, and I saw the version of it that the news played, and then I saw it. And it was, I've never seen anything like that. And what I'm talking about is the active duty U.S. Airman, 25-year-old Aaron Bushnell, who Sunday afternoon walked in front of the Israeli embassy, doused himself in a flammable liquid and set himself on fire. While he was and streamed the whole thing on Twitch, he said he did not want to continue to be complicit in a genocide. And it seemed to be very clear about what he was doing. This was not a young person that I felt was deranged or delusional or even having any sort of mental health crisis. He seemed to be very clear about what he was going to do. Are we going to show the video or should we just accept that everyone has seen this?
I don't have an opinion, actually.
Is there a beginning version that we can show up until he starts?
Yeah, the only one I saw, I'll grab it real quick, was, of course, Geechee had it, and it shows everything up till, and then it blurs out the actual burning, but you can hear it's. I'll just warning, it's not entirely easy to deal with, but this is
I am an active duty member of the United States Air Force, and I will no longer be complicit in genocide. I'm about to engage in an extreme act of protest, but compared to what people have been experiencing in Palestine at the hands of their colonizers, it's not extreme at all. This is what our ruling class has decided will be normal.
He just put alcohol on him.
Oh,
And
flammable
now,
liquid.
yeah, talk through it, people. For people that's not watching.
So Aaron Bushnell, has doused himself in a flammable liquid. He's standing in front of the Israeli embassy.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Man's on fire! Man's on fire!
Oh my God.
Free Palestine! Get on the ground! On the ground!
There's still a gun drawn on him.
Get on the ground! On the ground! On the ground!
This fool talking about on the ground, pointing guns at him.
Pointing guns at a man. Oh,
No, it's a shocking video to see, and obviously, one of the closest things that it comes to is during the Vietnam War was the self-immolation of Buddhists who would sit still throughout putting themselves on fire in protest of the government in Vietnam and of the Vietnam War, the war on their people, by the U.S. Army. And this tactic has been used a few times in history, but obviously it is extreme, something that I can't even fathom, what someone feels at that sort of level of deciding to protest in that way. And hopefully it won't be in vain, as in this will get massive coverage. People will see what folks feel like they have to do in order to bring attention to this issue and to make the United States government stop funding an active genocide. In fact, to make the United States government stop funding Israel, period, which is a settler colonial cousin of the United States at this stage. But the fact that so far, with all the protests that's been happening around the world, that nothing has deterred the U.S. government from continuing to supply weapons and to give Israel cover, both diplomatically, both in bombing Yemen, both in bombing Syria, in bombings in Iraq, that the United States continues to show its complete backing of the Israeli war machine and the funding of the Israeli war machine. Israel would not exist without the current level of funding that it gets, not only for its military and war machine, but its overall economy. So the U.S. is not even complicit; it is a partner in this genocide that's taking place against Palestinians. And again, the fact that someone has the courage and the ability to do something like that, it's still shocking to hear it and see it. But hopefully, at some point, something like this stirs enough people to at least get some interest and find out what would make somebody think that they should do this. Other people need to start reading and thinking. They don't have to do this act, but they can start reading and thinking, hopefully, and exploring why it is that this government supports this genocidal regime, and how to make it stop. Because the why is probably easy. The hard question is how to make it stop.
I mean, the last time that I can recall a self-immolation occurring was to kick off the Arab Spring, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say 2011, 2012, where I think it was a vendor or, somewhere in Tunisia. This man set himself on fire, I think, to protest the economic and living conditions that Tunisians were experiencing, and then it spread to different countries around that region. But when I saw this, I said, Is this going to kick off something similar? Does this have the actual power to do that?" And then I had questions about who this person is, who this 25-year-old white boy from Texas, I believe, or he was stationed in Texas, stationed out of San Antonio. I think it's been reported that he is part of an intelligence unit as part of the Air Force, which also gave me more questions. What does he know? What has he seen? How at 25, white and male in active duty military, did he correctly arrive at the conclusion of genocide, that Israel is colonizing Gaza? I mean, he seemed to be very clear on why he was doing what he was doing. And then I'm like, well, how the hell is he in the military? You know what I mean? Like that, those having those politics seems to run counter to what he did and what he seemingly knows. And I wanted to ask you, Jared. I mean, you being a veteran, I don't know when you became politically conscious. I'm not sure if it was during your time in the military, but your reaction to this active duty enlisted white guy doing this extreme act of protest.
I don't know. I've been struggling to find the words that are both honest to what I feel and appropriate for public consumption, and I don't know that I have them. My military, again, I don't know anything about this man. Everything you just said is the most I've heard about this man. And my background is a little bit different. I was politicized a bit before going into the military. I was only in the military to avoid what I thought was a prison sentence. So I wasn't gung-ho about any of it. I was ready to be, quote unquote, turned to radicalism, and did read a lot while I was out at sea. The intelligence part that you mentioned is piquing my interest now. I'm now more curious about that. Where I was in the military was almost the polar opposite. I was, and no disrespect to janitorial services, but that's more or less what I was. I wasn't doing intelligence. I was nowhere near any decision making or discussion of decisions. I barely knew much about what was happening beyond the ship until much later, which was itself disturbing to find out. But it's hard for me. And at the time, I was I don't know why the young man did it, but I remember the night that Jordan hit all those 3-pointers against Portland. We were all watching the game, and a white boy jumped off the flight deck and killed himself on the pier. And we all just went out, looked at them sort of covering the body, and everybody was like, "Did you know him?" I didn't know him. And we went back and watched the game. Like, it was a whole, so the idea of someone being politicized and aware while in the military to the point that they're doing this, I can't relate. And then I can't help a feeling that if this is the extent to which he was committed to make a point, I would love for him to have been able to found an existing movement or organization to commit that much energy and effort to, because I'm not convinced that even this severe of an effort and message is going to have the kind of impact that he or any of us might hope it will have. And again, when I specifically reading those 9 pages in that South Africa report, the people doing this thing don't care. The people, I do remember my own division officer basically talking to us about collateral damage. Like, they factor in, the military has a plan for how many they're going to lose. They're already factoring this in, maybe not from self-immolation, but they're like, we're going to get some people killed. We're going to lose some folks, and it is what it is. We'll send the letters home to their parents. We'll give them the flags, and that's it. We keep it moving. So but yeah, so I am struggling to put it together, but yeah, I that's where I hope that people, as they become radical and critical and concerned and even traumatized by what their country is doing, that they would direct that level of frustration and energy into to a positive engagement with organized effort to make change. And then I think I should stop. I think whatever else I would want to say should be off air. Yeah.
I also just want to point out that this is the second person. The other story did not get much attention, but in December, in Atlanta, a protester critically injured after setting himself on fire outside Israeli consulate. This happened in December. The person was did not die in the incident, but really quickly, a protester was in critical condition Friday. This is December 2nd. After setting themselves on fire outside the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, a Palestinian flag found at the scene was part of the protest. And the rest of it is not that long of a story. But that story, and again, talking about the ways in which we are desensitized to violence, that story did not necessarily make national headlines because that person was not killed in the act, I guess. But again, there's parts of it. I mean, again, because of the history in which I'm assuming some of these folks knew about when they committed the act. At the time when the original act, well, the act that people will probably think about in terms of in Vietnam, it had a worldwide impact in terms of looking at the Vietnam War. And at the time, of course, there was 3 major channels in the United States. The news was not as separated, and so there were only a few places to go in order to hear about things. But this particular act that took place, and here they're interviewing the photographer who just happened to be there. I don't want to show so much on the picture, but the year was 1963, and the Buddhist monk set themselves on fire to protest, particularly the South Korean dictators and the treatment of Buddhist monks, because the dictators were Catholic and, again, supportive of continued U.S. and French imperialism. So the fact that these folks have sort of looked at this form of protest, and there's a few who have sought, like as Kim pointed out, over the years, to use it as a way to bring a lot of attention to what they consider to be and what is actually criminal acts and acts of violence on them and their people. A few individuals have taken it up, and I do give me there's things about it that, again, I agree. Like I wish the person had chosen another way. I don't know what it means about the person's mental state. For Buddhists, I think it's obviously driven by another way of thinking about the world and their life. But I also think for somebody like this, who's not necessarily, again, don't know their history, but who's guided with, it seems, through a political protest or decision to commit such an extreme act. Someone has to wrestle with that, right? So I don't know necessarily even the right words to express it also, but I do think it's if in terms of being in vain, if this is an act that, again, at least on social media, if not in mainstream news, makes front page, but in social media, like y'all said, everybody is sharing it and talking about it. Again, at the very least, the hope is that more people start to figure out what's really happening in that part of the world, what's happening to Palestinians, what has happened to Palestinians. And maybe it does cause more people to get involved in movement politics. And that is something that at least can be taken from it, right? But yeah.
I mean, in terms of this being an act of political extremism committed by a white person in America, I look at what the right does, right? I'm thinking I could name 5 of them, 5 of these fucking murderous crackers who go into specifically black places and murder us in the name of some sort of right-wing ideology, white replacement theory. We hate the blacks, we hate everybody. Let me go and kill as many as possible, but somehow they themselves not end up killed. This person took an extreme act from the left perspective, only harmed himself. And to me, I won't say it's a disturbing thing that he did, but the fact that he gave us his thoughts right in the moments leading up to when he set himself on fire. This man sounded very rational. He wasn't rambling. He was clear. He was correct in his analysis, and he was very deliberate. Like I don't know what all the forms of mental illness looks like, but as lay people, as we tend to know it, maybe disjointed thinking, rambling, illogical. He was none of those things. So he knew what he was doing. He seemed to have some sort of acceptance and contentment for what he was about. He knew what he was about to do. And so for that, I appreciate what he did. I actually salute what he did, because it was an act of extreme political protest. And if that's the way that he chose to do it, then that's what he did. He said what he said. He did what he did. And I don't have any objection to it. It was horrific to see. I mean, when I first saw it, like in its unedited form, I had to stop. I could not watch it because it's absolutely horrific. But if that's what he was feeling in his soul and in his spirit, and he was rational in what his intentions were, I don't object to it.
Yeah, I saw Nabi had a comment about him going to the military and being willing to kill for his beliefs. Maybe he wouldn't have wanted to engage in our nonviolent liberal protests. I wasn't advocating that be the way he went, but yeah. So.
But that is also interesting, is at least as in, I mean, these are people speaking about the military, folks in the military. And again, not knowing this person's position, but obviously an intelligence unit. So what he may have seen in pictures and videos and testimonies or testimonials could have alone been the things that politicized him to create this act, right? The things that we even think we see about how this war is really being conducted still has a certain shield to it, even when they're firsthand videos by folks in Palestine. The collection of data that he might have had access to, that not only shows what's happening, but talks about it. Like, when we think about, again, I'm just using the Vietnam War as a counterpoint or an example of, the Pentagon papers were clear about what the U.S. was attempting to do, right? No blind, because it was for internal consumption. And you will find with a lot of these government documents that certain people will have access to, it cuts out all the small talk of human rights, all the small talk about human dignity, all that stuff. That's for you. That's for us. That's for us to sort of chew on when they sort of like, okay, draft that up. But there's still some terms around respecting human rights and people's sanity and ability to have food and all that kind of stuff. Make it sound good. But the internal documents that are not to be released, or not the ones that Trump stole from the from the White House, that Biden stole from the White House. The reason they want those documents back usually is because there's no filter on it. It's like, what has to happen here is Palestinians have to be put in a position through mass killing to not return back to their homes, to not think that they're going to settle back. They must be so afraid that they want to do anything but stay in that area. That is the purpose of this mission, right? So they'll be that straightforward. And again, if you see it and it's shocking to you that that's what your government is actually involved in, it certainly should, or hopefully would, politicize you as a human being. And again, other people have taken other actions in terms of exposing things. Again, in the Vietnam, enlisted people, fragged their officers for their treatment, for being forced to be in this combat situation, for being forced to be the lead and basically be sent out as fodder to be killed. So people have reacted, even in the military, deserting, not going to the war. And so this fits in the pantheon of potential protest by active soldiers and folks who are somehow connected to that world in some ways.
I told my gun captain I'm leaving. If they shoot at us, I'm leaving. That was my form of protest.
Where was you going?
Inside the ship. I don't know. We were in I was like, I'm leaving. Because where they had us on the catwalk. You get a flak jacket. The gun mount has a little shield on it. And then you out there. So if you don't get what you're shooting at first, I was like, I'm not just kidding. I was like, nah, my man, I'm out immediately. At least I'm telling you in advance. But no, and to your point, just quickly come out, you don't have to even be at the level of intelligence to get that messaging. I mean, even while I was sweeping the floor and painting a wall, we were hearing endlessly about these savages and animals that we were helping to suppress for the good people of Kuwait. So you're very, and it is from the stories of Black revolutionaries coming out of the military and joining the movement to the way I felt when I came home. I was like, the peaceful stuff isn't going to work. Like the regular little protest is not going to work, because you see immediately, and I always think of that scene in Runaway Jury, where Dustin Hoffman's in the bathroom arguing with Gene Hackman about gun control and laws and violence, and he gives this passionate liberal speech, and then Gene Hackman just washes his hand, looks at him and says, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. That's their attitude. It's not that they're unaware. They do not care. So I get the idea, like, I have to do something that is beyond, just, hey, please stop it, because they don't care. But so I fully get it. But speaking of showing up and not caring.
No.
I'm just playing.
Hey, big up to all the custodians out there. Bookman, Buffalo Butt, the guy on Abbott Elementary.
Abbott Elementary.
Right,
yeah, big up to all the custodians. And big up, I don't know why people keep sharing these pictures with me, but we got a picture of Jared when he was on the deck doing what he does. So big up to y'all sending in them pictures, man. Y'all
gotta
be
add
everywhere.
the Trevor Noah Fro, man. We had the Trevor Noah Fro back in the day. With the Trevor Noah military crew cut. Oh my God, Jared, what did that look like?
Somebody must have Photoshopped.
That was oddly crazy accurate, though. That is a no bull concoction right there. That was very close to what it looked like.
Hey, they sent me the picture. I just posted it.
Let's go. I love it. I love it.
All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we're going to come back with some more right here on the Remix Morning Show. Down by the river. Yeah. What up, y'all? What up? This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Please make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe. If you're new to the channel, please do that. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, see footage that's rare. And right here, you can share to other people, because this show is something you can't compare. And you can drop some change right here in the chat room. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and get to it. Let's give an artist spotlight real quick. Who am I talking about, as you can hear in the background? That's right. We're talking about Morgan Heritage. Morgan Heritage. All right, let me put you D to them real quick. All right, Morgan Heritage is a reggae group out of Jamaica. They formed in 1994. It's actually five brothers and sisters of a earlier reggae artist, Denroy Morgan. He had people in the group was Peter, Una, Gramps, Luke's, Mr. Mojo. You know, they did their thing. They put out a bunch of albums, almost 20 albums. But they first made their big splash in Reggae Sunsplash in Jamaica in 1994. They got signed, did their first album, which was kind of popish. But then they moved out to Jamaica and they started getting into the more conscious type singing and lyrics and stuff like that. So they put out mad albums, like I said. They toured Europe. They broke up for a minute, but then got back together in 2012, put out an album called The Return. And then after that, you know, they was out all around the place, Europe, all around the world with Capleton, Junior Kelly, Barris Hammond. You know what I'm saying? In 2015 for the Strictly Roots, they won a Grammy Award for Best Reggae Album in 2016, and then came back with another album called Abracadabra in 2019 and won a second Grammy Award. Now, what just happened recently, last week, I believe, one of the artists called Peter, he just made his transition at the age of 46, y'all. Whew, that's wild. So yeah, Peter, one of the artists in Morgan's Heritage, just made his transition. But like I said, they got a lot of music, so go check them out if you get a chance. Over like 20 albums. All right, that's Morgan Heritage. This is the Remix Morning Show. Let's get back to the show. Let's go.
Do you know what? Thank you for this here, Doctor, because it reminds me and that one of my favorite sisters is going to be coming to the platform again when she gets back from Jamaica to talk about the Bob Marley film. Sister Suzette is going to come through. Dr. Monique Badesi is more or less not interested and got a new book she's working on. She'll be joining us. People were asking me about her too. She'll be joining soon, come to talk about her forthcoming work. But Sister Suzette, now I did not know this. Now I already complained about the film centering the 1978 peace concert as a way to limit Bob's politics. But I didn't even realize, I did not know this until this weekend, speaking of what I was doing this weekend, that whole peace concert was bigger than just Bob's performance. It included a number of artists, including Peter Tosh, who gave this whole speech about the fakery of colonialism and how Jamaica's occupied and they got to get these men out of here. And I mean, he goes through this whole thing, and it wasn't, not only is Tosh not allowed to speak in the movie and not named in the movie, but that isn't even, the rest of the concert isn't even referenced. And I had no idea. So we are going to shout out to the late great Peter Tosh as well, and we're gonna start making some of these other corrections.
So you seen the movie?
I saw the trash film.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. Yeah, they saying
it is
it's like
terrible.
So what were you talking about? The documentary or the biopic?
I'm talking the biopic.
The
biopic.
Okay.
The One Love biopic.
Is it streaming or in the theaters?
No, we saw it in the theater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he spent money to go see that.
Spent money on Valentine's Day with my wife. Although shout out to that brother who bought too much wine and gifted us a bottle. And
Nice.
in New Orleans, you could do whatever in these theaters. So we were just in there.
Just
I was
enjoy it.
appropriately. I had what I needed to make it through the film. We'll put it that way. But it's terrible, and the erasure of the politics is crazy. And then I didn't even know how, and then it's even worse than I realized. So
He's
Yeah, I
been
was-
sanitized. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, here.
No, I was just saying I'm waiting for it to come on TV. Go ahead.
I mean, you just think about what are the most popular Bob Marley songs. They're never his political songs. It's not War or Concrete Jungle or
Three
Rat
Little
Race
Birds.
or it's all right. Three Little Birds. It's One Love. And like I mean, his politics has been sanitized, but also from a perspective that people don't want to think of Bob Marley as a bad guy, right? I mean, he was not a great not a great husband, not a great partner, maybe not the greatest father, but people don't want to remember Bob Marley in no negative way. So that's also part of the reason why his politics gets erased, because we don't want Bob Marley to be divisive out here, right? He's for everybody.
Yeah,
And one
exactly.
of his granddaughters was on Instagram making a good point, even about Three Little Birds, that she's saying if you listen to the song properly, it's making an appeal. And she pointed out the part that we often forget where it says, "Hear the children crying, hear the children crying. Let's get together." And so, I mean, he's trying to, she was pointing out that he's saying the children are crying about a world that doesn't exist. So don't get caught up in the softness of the lyrics. So, but yeah. And then, but anyway, so there's just so much to be said about that. And I still, when I went back and did a couple weeks ago that revisit to Michelle Stevenson's work on the co-optation of Bob, I still think it's one of the most impressive articles that I've seen that shows how the industry repackaged him and rebranded him and carefully marketed him in preparation for us to deal with this kind of nonsense that we're getting in this film.
I mean, wasn't Ziggy Marley one of the producers there for
the very Zionist Ziggy Marley?
So he's going to put a light on his father. Like he's like, I'm not going to say no bad things about my pops.
And he's the only, it's not just putting a light on my father, it's putting a light on my mother's story of my father. And with all respect due to Rita, this is Rita's recitation of Bob. It's a very Rita-centric, what I want you to know about my late husband. And Ziggy's literally the only child mentioned by name. You don't even, and like
Junior Gong's mom ain't in it?
Oh,
no. Ain't no way.
What?
No. Rita does it. Rita got her little revenge. The woman is pictured without speaking. She's like in the background. So it's like, I know you were there, but you're not getting no lyrics. You not. I'm gonna put you right over there, quiet in the corner. It was very. It's.
She was.
And my wife
sussed
that out. She was like, look at every step of the way. Rita is giving credit, bringing Bob to Rasta, diagnosing his foot, checking him on his own infidelity and checking him on without addressing her own. No disrespect, and then pointing out who was hustling him. Like Rita's like clearly,
she's the pen behind the. All right.
That's the version we get, and then, but when you center it on that peace conference and not the Zimbabwe concert of 2 years later, that alone shows you we're not trying to deal with his Pan-Africanism, his radicalism, his critique of the world. And then when you remove Tosh, oh man, you leave out the even more radical critique, and then when you and all of that, so it's very. This movie is a mess.
Let's come together.
Who was that white man he was trying to get elected? I mean, I know that doesn't narrow it down, but I mean, but in the Netflix documentary, Who Shot the Sheriff, it was a little jarring to see Bob Marley in front of a crowd of Jamaicans, like holding hands with this white man, like elect
two of
this
them,
cracker, right?
And he was even saying, "Let's bring the peace to." It's some. Yeah, some contradictions. There's some struggles. It's a lot.
Politicians be using these musicians.
Michael Manley. Yeah, thank you.
Oh wow.
Big up
Michael
to
Manley
Arlie.
wasn't white. I thought Michael Manley was.
Well, white in the context of
He was beige.
beige.
I know this man was
Edward Seaga would have been seen as I think more of the white, slightly more of the white. I think the racial politics are a little bit different.
Nah, this guy was white, y'all. He wasn't no beige. Bob Marley was beige.
Michael Manley versus Edward Seaga is what I'm saying.
I don't know who the name of the white man was that he
the
was
two
holding
white men that
hands
he
with.
holds that he tries to. I'm not a fan of that either, which is why I'm saying if you go 2 years later where he's talking about let's get Zimbabwe and Africa's free from colonialism, and we could refocus on that and not the earlier part of let's all hold hands and all of that. And then if you take out the context of Tosh at that same concert, where he gives this relatively long statement before he starts performing or in between performances, and he's saying colonialism is a problem. We're a conquered people. Like all of that stuff with that energy of Tosh that I can't mimic here because I don't have the accent and the slang down.
I got you.
Go ahead, Ear Doctor. To give us some patois, Ear Doctor.
Arlene Chambers. And the media showed more of what really happens in war. And those serving in the military, public would protest to stop this madness. Big up to Arlene. All right,
Arlene.
Let me get out of here before they throw tomatoes at me.
I mean, the other part of the story is that it's a common story of political people, particularly Black radicals, having their family members use their image and and who they are as the sort of wealth generating family heirloom that they left behind, right? And the way to get that stuff to sparkle is to distort, remove, change the politics so that it becomes acceptable for TV movies or for big screen movies. And for commercials, for lifting the voice and putting them over dubbing them over things for commercials, selling cars. So these things have not become a continuation of the politics that a lot of these folks originally held or dabbled in or were going through, but now they've become opportunities for the children and or spouses to bring money. In Bob's case, it might be slightly different, but it is a way of making sure more money is brought in, right? But it's a way of repositioning people to make them acceptable for larger, i.e., white audiences, to dabble slightly. And it sounds like in this case, not at all, but to dabble slightly into politics, but to really remove any hardcore presenting of them or thinking through. I mean, the fact that they can get away with it, with a Malcolm. Right. And again, Lenin spoke about this, of course, whatever. But the fact that Malcolm, whose politics were in very strong, but they can sort of sanitize and turn Malcolm into a human rights advocate is like the tagline the family likes to use. So the fact that they can get away with that, I think everybody else becomes so much easier in terms of distorting or playing down the politics for the purposes of this is how we get checks, you know.
Yeah, it's yeah. All right, either of you got something you want to get to? Any stories piquing your particular interest? Shout out to Erica.
Erica gave one that was. I think we've been talking about a couple of these stories around women in terms of control of their body, and this one was one of these. Is like, what, does this still happen? So Missouri's law says pregnant women can't get divorced.
First of all, Kamau, sorry to interrupt, but I think we should ask Kim to exit the screen so that you and I and the Ear Doctor can host this conversation of what women do with their bodies. It's only appropriate. Yeah, I just feel like it's not appropriate for Kim to participate.
So
can I tell y'all how bad I hate it here? I hate it here, not on BPM. I'm talking about in America. I love it here on BPM. I hate it here in America. I hate it for me. I hate it for your daughters. I hate it for every fucking body. I'm sorry. Continue.
I'm glad you said that. So as it stands, Missouri judges cannot legally finalize a divorce if a woman is pregnant. 3 other states have similar laws: Texas, Arizona, and Arkansas. While a couple can still file for divorce in Missouri, the couple must wait until after a woman gives birth in order to finalize child custody and child support. When it comes to domestic violence, there are no exceptions. This doesn't make sense in 2024, state rep said. And that's where it becomes a problem for her. I don't know when it did make sense, but okay. She introduced a bill this legislative session that essentially says pregnancy cannot prevent a judge from finalizing a divorce or separation. I just want moms in difficult situations to get out if they need to. She agreed that while the law was made with good intentions, like making sure kids are taken care of, she feels it needs to be updated to reflect modern times. This is something that was brought to me by folks in my community who shared that it was a huge problem. During committee hearing earlier this month, Ane said one woman shared a powerful testimony regarding an abusive situation while she was pregnant. So that's basically she's trying to change. One of the things that happens in terms of this story and other stories is that they try to situate these things in the most extreme ways or examples. It's like maybe she just wants a divorce. It doesn't have to be because she's being abused. It could be simply because she doesn't want to be married to this motherfucker no more. That should be good enough of a reason. It doesn't have to be some oh my God, there's abuse in order to suggest that even that a divorce at this time should happen. And then again, this is the ways liberals think that they're protecting our rights or protecting people's rights, is that they have to do it through, at the time this may have been a good idea, but now this no longer makes sense. It never made sense.
Never made sense.
Yeah.
Right. So interesting that this statute is on the books as it pertains to pregnant women, because pregnancy is a cause of death, right? For a lot of women, right? More women that are in abusive relationships have an exponentially higher chance of literally being murdered, not just being attacked or abused, murdered, literally being killed while pregnant. Now, I don't see necessarily what protections a divorce grants a pregnant person trying to escape an abusive situation. But if it's just for their peace of mind, or if they don't want their child legally tied to the child's father, or being born into wedlock, being born quote legitimate, I'm guessing that's probably the origins of this law, so that a child would be born quote legitimate. What the fuck does that even? I know what it means, but I don't see what bearing it has on the baby's outcome if it's in a bad situation, or if the mother's in a bad situation. I mean, it's just let it be another example that, this democracy that all these Democrats, all these liberals, all these, people, pundits go on TV and wring their hands over. Oh, we have to protect democracy. This is the fucking democracy that they're trying to uphold and protect. That's why I want this bitch to crumble and fall. Because even still, women can't say when they can exit a relationship legally. They still don't have the power in every place, in every corner in America, to exit a relationship when they want to, or exit a marriage when they want to. It's incumbent upon the patriarchal system to grant them those rights and when they can do that.
My wife can't even get birth control when she wants.
In Maryland. Which is
I guess I don't. Yeah, I don't know the policy in all 50 states, but in Maryland, she has to wait for more than likely a male doctor to sign off on when she can re-up and go. And has literally been at the pharmacy and been told by the dude behind the counter, "You can't. I'm not authorized to give you another." And we're talking about birth control. We're not talking about so it is about regulating pregnancy and all of that, and it's we're not talking about a narcotic or anything. It's so yeah, it's fascinating to
how quick can the mandem get Viagra? Do they wait? Do they say no? You've had you've reached your Viagra quota for the month, sir. No. They don't say.
And
so.
Now, because I've watched Cam and Mace all the time, you can get pink horsepower. They advertise pink horsepower, which is supposed to be, I guess, a version of Viagra or some other form of Viagra that they're selling. Lord. They have commercials for and everything showing you that you'll get your woman back in check once you satisfy her after taking your pink horsepower pills.
They sell that shit at the gas station, don't they? Don't take that shit.
The blue pills are at the gas station.
Don't take that stuff, y'all.
Yeah, I'm still
at. They sell erection pills at the gas
Yeah,
station.
yeah.
Imagine. Imagine a woman going to the gas station trying to get birth control. That requires a doctor. That requires an exam. That requires a visit to a pharmacy. No. Erection pills, gas station. Right
Yeah,
there.
they sell them. I don't get them, but I see other people.
You do
I know
see
you
the other people?
Bet you them joints be sold out. Jeez Louise.
It's probably the highest selling whatever.
And not to mention Missouri, I believe, has no abortion clinics, by the way, just the FYI. I think they closed the last abortion clinic in Missouri. I think it was in St. Louis. Either they have 0 or they had 1 left. So Illinois has been taking a good chunk of patients coming from Missouri seeking abortion services. Yep.
Yeah,
Way
this
to go,
country
America.
is pretty stupid.
It's even stupider for girls. Okay, it's stupid. Oh, it's plenty stupid. But have a uterus. Oh, it gets way dumber. It gets way dumber. And I live in Maryland, and it's still stupid. Imagine if we lived in Missouri or Florida or Georgia or Alabama or Missouri or Idaho. Jesus,
Now, did
sisters,
we-
y'all have my condolences and my thoughts and prayers.
Why you messing around? I don't like going too far in Maryland. It's dangerous out here. We got real white folks out here.
Real whites. The real whites is on it too. What we got up here next, fellas?
Now, did anybody talk about this hair discrimination thing? Speaking of controlling Black bodies and so forth.
I don't think it could be talked about enough, to be honest.
Nice transition.
Oh, dude, I try. Every now and then I try to be professional. Not a lot, though. Not a lot. So I'll play this clip right here from.
Just ruled in a case about a Black student's fight to keep his hairstyle. NBC's Morgan Chesky is live in Dallas. The student, Daryl George, has been out of the classroom, I think, for the better part of a year now. What was the decision?
Yeah, Chris, I want to read you the judge's words exactly here, saying that the district's policy, that being Barber Hill District outside of Houston, does not prohibit nor does it discriminate against male students who wear braids, locks, or twists, adding the Crown Act does not render unlawful those portions of Barber Hill's dress code. Those were the judge's words earlier today, just a short time ago, in fact, in the case of Daryl George, this 18-year-old high school junior who hasn't been able to sit in class with the rest of his classmates, Chris, because the district says that even though he wears his hair up in locks, if it's let down, it would violate the school's policy. And so in turn, he is now suspended. And the judge siding with the district, saying that their stance on that does not violate Texas's Crown Act, which was enacted back in September of 2023 to try and prevent race-based hair discrimination. More than 20 other states have adopted similar policies. And the family, we've already heard from them, Chris, they do plan to appeal. We have not heard directly from them on camera, but we know that a Texas state rep supporting them today had this to say following that judge's ruling. Take a listen.
I think we've got to remember that this is about Daryl, and to see that young man crying, he didn't understand. We couldn't explain it to him. We tried to explain it to him. He just wants to learn, and he just wants to be normal. His mom was so physically shaken. Like, I was worried about her. Are you okay? Do I need to get you some water? Please pray for this family.
She's not ready for prime time.
And we did have a chance to hear from that 18-year-old prior to today's court hearing, where he shared that he was angry that this fight has to continue on despite policies such as the Crown Act being enacted as recently as last fall. Again, the family says they plan to appeal, but no date has been set on when this ongoing legal saga will resume here. Chris?
So Daryl's mother and Daryl did come out and make a statement. They did address the press, and that representative was correct. His mother was visibly emotional. It was very difficult for her to get her words out, but she was devastated. And the child spoke also. He talked about being excluded from his junior year of high school, not really being able to participate in his normal high school experience. And this is just based off his appearance. This is not a behavioral issue. This child is not accused of being disruptive. His appearance is enough to disrupt what these people believe is acceptable. And the superintendent of the Barbers Hill ISD took out a full page ad in the Houston Chronicle, basically saying that conformity is American, right? And defending the school's position on this. And so the judge, how the judge ruled in favor of the school district is because the Crown Act does not mention hair length. And that is the sort of obscure part that the judge chose to side with the school district on. So there wasn't the issue of his locks, it's the length of his locks. His locks are too long because if they fall below the collar line, then that violates the school district's dress code conduct, whatever. So
even though he wears them up, right?
He wears them
because
up.
they could, as the story said, they could fall down. And if they do come down,
oh my God, then we'll see the crown, the king.
Right.
The natural hair is so powerful that they come up with stupid shit like that. I mean, they know, like, even calling it the Crown Act, it's like kings and queens out here. We don't want y'all to be that. We want y'all to conform and look like us. It's crazy.
And for a while, guys, you know, I was talking about this on my show, the Gen X. All of us who used to routinely go get our hair relaxed. I mean, that was for that purpose, right? So we could be presentable. So our hair wouldn't be nappy. So we wouldn't be unkempt. You know, you want to look presentable. So that's why generations of Black women got relaxers. We have literally had chemicals applied to our heads, our scalps, basically for the white gaze. And I think, you know, the reemergence of natural hairstyles, particularly of locks, particularly on Black boys and men, they find it so threatening and so very intimidating. I mean, you guys, we talked about it here years ago, that Black wrestler, high school athlete who had his locks forcibly cut by a white referee who refused to allow him to participate unless his locks were cut. And they cut him right there in the gym in front of everybody. I mean, just the humiliation that Black
and then
children,
he had to go out and wrestle.
And then he had to go out and wrestle. But it's like any reason to exclude Black children from the school setting or exclude Black people because of our appearance, not because of anything we done said or did, just us showing up as we are, white America still finds extremely threatening and will punish us.
It's the conformity of not only just of the white standards, but again, it's also gender conformity. Because my assumption is girls can wear their hair or any length. In fact, it's probably encouraged that their hair is longer or below their neckline and shoulders and so forth. So the idea that somehow someone who's male gendered cannot have longer hair, like that in and of itself is some sort of disruption of standards and or fitting into a conformity that they see the world through, and that a court would uphold that a court simply doesn't see this as a First Amendment violation of someone's freedom of expression, freedom of choice, freedom of speech. Again, it shows as talked about the places where this country is headed. This is not just about the young person as spoken about. This is about conformity of race, conformity of gender standards, conformity of culture, that it is past time, if it ever was time, that folks, I mean, and it should be even put up with it. And the fact that it's amazing is that this family has struggled and made this an issue where they've been willing to homeschool or take their child out of school also should be complimented, because that's a lot, right? That's a lot to sort of put yourself out there sort of as a face of struggle at such a young age. And you're missing time with your classmates, school time, learning time, and all the rest of it, simply because of how you wear your hair.
Yo, I had to pop on screen just because this happened to me in the 80s with my
you
box
had
fade.
hair? Oh.
My box fade was too high. They said you couldn't have a box fade over 3 inches high. She came into class in front of everybody with a ruler and put it on my head to make sure that it wasn't over 3 inches high. Me and Timon Funches, we had the dopest box fades in the classroom, and she did that in front of everybody. It was like, it can't be this high. So we had to pat our box fade down.
So she made you pat it on the spot? She made y'all like
I
push it
mean,
down? Wow.
I mean, it was ridiculous, man. A nun.
This even happened to me. Now that you mention it, in
Look at it.
kindergarten, I had an afro, a big fro, and I was sent home being told it needed to be cut down because the kids behind me in class couldn't see. That was the. And I don't
Why didn't
remember
they
the.
Send you
Yeah.
to the back of the classroom like they do the other Negroes. Just go sit in the back, Jared. Jared?
We can't see past this pro.
And if
High.
I don't, my memory shouldn't be trusted, but I don't think my mother did it. I think something else. There was something else. Yeah, I don't think she cut it, but yeah, So even I got a version of that, but nothing obviously to this level. And but
Clones. I'm out.
It's sad, y'all. I mean, in 2024, I mean, and then again, it kind of goes back to what the futility of laws. What is the point of having a Crown Act on the book if it doesn't protect a child wearing their hair naturally? Like, there's a law on the book, and I know laws don't apply to Black people except to put us in jail. The laws that are supposed to protect us, them joints don't count. Them joints is just there to say them shit is on the books, but anything to protect us, whether or not it's enforceable, anything to criminalize us, oh yeah, we need all the money, all the training, all the for that, but protect niggas.
And Leah, you are exactly right. I do remember every transgression. I every single one. Big
That's
or
Libra
small.
energy. That's Libra energy, because your innate sense of justice and fairness and balance, like, you don't forget. I'm Libra
Not
rising.
a
I get
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Don't cross a Libra. They won't ever forget that shit.
So people talk about let go of your grudges. I embrace them. I marry them. I'm a polygamist with my grudges. We all go to bed together at night.
That's right. Nurture them. Make
real
sure they
quick-
get sunlight and water.
Sing to them in the morning.
That's right.
So somebody brought this up in the chat. I don't know if either of you have been following this. I have not, and don't pretend to know anything, but the Palestinian Authority prime minister and government resign amid pressure to reform. Are either of you up on this story? And maybe we can play this clip. I don't know. Or I think
We
it
can play
happened
it, yeah.
overnight. If we
Who
don't
is
get
it?
the
As a
Black
commercial
woman
first.
that
Yeah, we got to
struggled
get the
during my-
commercial first about the Black woman and her struggle to get insurance.
Big
Insurance. It's a big struggle. It's a big struggle to get insurance. And I'm sure the answer here is to vote for David
Oh,
Throne.
not her. I thought
Middle
she was
East, the Prime Minister.
No,
the Pal-
not her. For the white man that will
the white
get
man.
her.
The white man is going to solve the problem.
man,
Come on,
what
Kim.
What you think?
Kim, keep up. What is the theme today?
We can have a discussion about this Maryland Senate race. It's gonna be a disaster. David Trone, though, got long, deep pockets out here.
So he'll get her the insurance. Okay, here we go.
Palestinian Authority and his government have submitted their resignations. Journalist Elliot Gotkin is back with me now from London. So, Elliot, what is behind the Palestinian Authority Prime Minister and government making this move today? Why now?
Rosemary, as you say, they've submitted their resignation to Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority. The assumption will be that this is perhaps due to pressure from the Americans, or at least designed to placate the Americans somewhat in its desire to have a revitalized and a reconstituted Palestinian Authority take control of the Gaza Strip once the war between Israel and Hamas is over. Now, the Prime Minister is very close to Mahmoud Abbas, who was elected for a 4-year term in 2005. So he's now been in power for some 19 years of a 4-year term. And the Palestinian Prime Minister seemed to be very close to Mahmoud Abbas and a part of his Fatah faction. The assumption, as I say, will be that this is one step towards this perhaps reconstitution of the Palestinian Authority to make it certainly more palatable to the United States, but also potentially to Israel to have it take control of the Gaza Strip the day after the Israel-Hamas war is over. Rosemary?
So, in other words, when this equally balanced war that Hamas started on October 7th comes to its conclusion, the U.S. will institute a new authority, pun intended, to properly run Gaza after what will be a democratic election to replace Hamas with this new authority that the U.S. is going to impose after this equally balanced war comes to an end?
Come on, Jay, they're not ready for democracy. America has to step in as the guiding light and force of what the world should look like.
So the white man brings you insurance and democracy.
Wait a minute, y'all. Am I misremembering 2006 when I was seeing George W. Bush, then President, Condoleezza Rice? Wasn't they out here stumping for Hamas? Like, weren't they promoting Hamas being elected the leaders of Palestine?
That I don't know. I doubt it very highly.
I know.
The Palestinian Authority has always been the favored group publicly.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
There are things that have been done undercover or secretly to promote or Hamas, to keep the division between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, so that the Israelis and the Americans can claim that, look, they are not ready for a two-state solution because they can't even get their governance together.
Because that's what I thought this was. I'm sorry, just real quick. I thought it was, my memory had it the other way, that like it was, we want democracy in the region until they democratically elect Hamas. Then all of a sudden it was.
Yeah, that's
what
that's
have they done?
Correct. Yeah, it wasn't like they didn't want Hamas to win the election, but they wanted the faction to exist so that it could be used to apply the push and pull against each other, right? Again, as a way of suggesting that they weren't ready. And again, in Gaza, once they did win and the Palestinian Authority attempted to use military means to overthrow or take back over, Hamas defeated them. The resistance basically took them out, and they could not win in Gaza. So, all of this is to say is like the Palestinian Authority has for decades been basically an arm of the Israeli state in terms of policing Palestinian resistance, arresting Palestinians, keeping calm in the territories. They've basically been a Bantu state in which the Palestinian Authority has administered their particular role, and in exchange, they get resources, or the tax revenues and other resources are fed to them to pay salaries and again, whatever largesse that some of them may get. So the idea that these folks are still, but the Palestinian Authority, the resistance movement of Palestine and Palestinians, a lot of them reject the notion and do call the authority corrupt, right? But not because of the reasons the Americans and the Israelis do. They call them corrupt because they fall in line with the will of the Americans and the Israelis in terms of keeping the enclave of the West Bank and Gaza under a certain level of control. Again, some resistance is allowed, but anything that passes a certain point in the West Bank is stopped. And the Palestinian Authority has common as interplay with the IDF in terms of exchanging information, intelligence exchanges, and the rest of it. So that is the current situation. So obviously, the U.S. and Israel want the Palestinian Authority to continue to play that role, but now to be stretched into Gaza with not just a so-called two-state solution, but with no solution. They will be permanently underclassed in terms of the Israeli order. They're going to start using this as a way again to bring Israeli citizens in, so-called Israeli citizens, into Gaza to start settlements, creating buffer zones. They're going to have further decrees and operations with the governments of Jordan and Egypt, all to contain, and in my opinion, again, to slowly drip out Palestinians. Partly one reason they haven't done that is the Palestinian birth rate has been higher than what the Israelis has been. And they're nearly 50, they're over 50%, I think, of the population when you combine what's so-called Israel proper with Gaza and with the West Bank. So again, the Israelis and the Americans, through genocide and other means, ethnic cleansing and other means, are looking to control the population growth because obviously they don't want Palestinians voting so-called Israeli Arabs, which were nothing more than Palestinians. They don't want Palestinians voting, and they don't want them having control over any land, and they want the resistance to cease.
Check your emails, y'all. I found a video. I don't know what it says. I mean, I know what the description is. I don't know what they are saying in the video, but I'm just trying to, because anyway.
Yeah, Kamal, can you get it? I don't think I got it.
I didn't get the email either.
Are you kidding me? I'm not. I'm sorry, you weren't supposed to hear that.
But this is an email. This is a video, you think, to the point that you were making around the.
But it said, well, so the caption said Bush and Rice on Hamas election, and it's from the AP archive. Because I thought I remembered at the time kind of giving the confused dog look to the television when Condoleezza Rice and George Bush was extolling the virtues of Hamas. Now, perhaps I have misremembered that totally.
Well, let's see. Let's see.
We get a commercial.
Are we going to get audio?
Yeah, there's no audio nor timestamp.
Well, it said that in the joint would they go Bushing right there? Well, ain't no audio. Are they just hating? They said no AP archive for being
No, maybe you got to pay for the audio. No, there's no audio in this video.
Are you then why in the fuck would they post a video with no audio?
Kim,
There's
once
no
again
sound.
with the
It's saying there's no sound.
This is my research on the fly, ear doctor. I didn't know.
Oh, we know.
Listen, don't hate, shorty. Don't be mad. Anyway, I may have misremembered the shit altogether. I think this is an intentional what's the face? Technology interference from the deep state because they don't want us fact checking history, but that's cool. No worries.
Well, we can do some more research on it and either bring it back later, like we got 15 minutes left, or if someone else has any article that they want to put in the chat to see if there's any more information on it.
Need I do a quick break to get so y'all can get it together? Because this is a whole.
Won't you do a quick? Oh,
yeah, because.
Why do you got to say it though? You've producing. You should just jump in with the break, without naming the fact that why you're jumping in the break. That's what the continuity is.
That's what you think? How about this continuity?
Wait, Kim is.
Look at that right there.
Don't
look at that box fade right there,
Wow.
yo.
That is
with the fade, with the little dye in there, like Kwame. I was killing the game, son.
So that eyebrow.
Had them all.
Word. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and they'll get their stuff together. This is Black Power Media and the remix for this show. Peace. Yeah. Big up to everybody tuning in. This is the Remix Morning Show. Go by the name of Ear Doctor. Please make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com. Become a member over there and see footage that's rare. We got to put some more stuff on Patreon. Big up to all our Patreon members. And also share. All right, with that said, we're going to go ahead and put y'all on to what's been going on Black Power Media. We had a couple shows that came out. First, let's start off with Warrior Class, and they tell you how to survive during the purge. What they talking about? Willis?
Be prepared for a desperate or deranged person who escalates the situation to violence. This is where pepper spray, maybe, sharp tools, impact tools, or firearms are handy.
We talked about the pepper gel before also.
Yes.
So, yeah, just look in the pepper gel. All right. So also, long-term WROL role.
That's anarchy.
I'm sorry.
That's anarchy, state anarchy.
Which is anarchy. This is a reversion to a world in which the only rule is survival of the fittest. This would likely be caused by a civil war or full-scale economic collapse.
Ooh, I don't know if y'all ready for that, but y'all need to go check that out. That is Warrior Class. Comes on Saturdays at 1:00. Y'all also had another we had the Black Myths, and we had Dr. Joy on there. Let's see what type of joy Dr. Joy James is bringing.
Then Black feminism, Latina feminism, we can go through all the feminisms. The state has a dominant role in, once they realize feminism could work for them, the state has a dominant role along with corporations, you know, both for-profit and nonprofit, in shaping the meanings of feminism, just like it has a dominant role or attempts to have a dominant role in shaping what it means to have Black freedom.
Man, dropping gems on there. So y'all go ahead and check out both of those shows right here on Black Power Media. And now let's get back to the remix show right here. Let's go.
So shout out to Joy James, who will be joining me on the 6th, I believe, or the 4th, to talk. I can't remember. It's on the channel. She'll be talking about her new book on Angela Davis. Speaking of the state's use of feminism, perhaps, you know, I think that's a, you know.
Yeah, and I see Kim's gonna be on Piper Carter's show coming up.
Kim's gonna be on Piper Carter's show.
Very excited. I'm very excited. It's long overdue. You know what I'm saying? The Wonder Twins been to activate. Let's get it.
In fact, I think, are you the reason I got bumped? I think because Piper bumped me. Maybe for maybe it was Women's Month in general. But I was getting signed up. I got bumped, but I'm happy for that. If it's for Kim, that's worth it. I hope it was for Kim. But and shout out to Piper. Look forward to building. And by the way, also at 11 o'clock today, shout out to Dr. Mamira Prosper and Alan Martin. Is that how you say his name? I'll have to ask him at 11 o'clock when at least she helped me set up with Alan the screening of his documentary that we're going to be hosting at 11 o'clock, Haiti, The Forgotten Occupation. So please, everybody, come back. We're getting a special BPM live screening of that documentary and followed by a discussion. And then, so that is
big up to
dope coming up today as well. Yeah.
Big up to Hobbs 45 sending in $22. He said, "Listen, 2 more will make it better. A brief history of 7 killings would have made a better movie. Same subject matter." Hobbs sound like a detective.
I don't know that story.
Me neither.
Yeah, me neither.
All right, well,
Thank
put
you,
us on
Hobbs.
Hobbs.
Wait. I'm going to cause some controversy. What did you mean by use of state feminism? Are we saying that Angela Davis was representing state feminism?
I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying Joy James is saying that. I'm saying that in my words, not Dr. James's words, because so far what I've read in her book, actually, it's not really a critique per se of Angela Davis as much as an explanation of the political context that produced her. And so I'm not saying James is saying this, but I'm saying in other discussions that Dr. James has had and that we've had on the platform, there has been this, how is feminism being used and how is the image of Angela Davis being used and to what end? And so I'm still working through the book, but first of all, it's fascinating. You even learn more about Dr. James and her career, her political activist career back in the day, and are reminded of just a lot of activity that people have been engaged in before we see them on YouTube. So that's dope too. And then the context of Angela Davis's rise is, so I'm not trying to put that on Dr. James, but now I am saying, I would say
they used to be very close. They were like, she worked for Davis. So
they were roommates. So she knows Angela Davis well and has watched a lot happen. And so I'm interested to finish reading and see where she keeps going. But so far, it's a fascinating just context she's setting. And then, by the way, that same week, Richard Wolff is coming on my show too. So all that complaining I did about his previous staff not setting up the interview worked. So, that's why you got to speak up. People say I'm being petty, but I'm like, nah, it's a strategy. Call it out so people fix it.
Speaking of fixing, come out, unpop your collar.
Leave him alone, ear doctor. You're the only one that comes on here put together. You know that, right? Well, I think you and Ricky, maybe Jackie, but everybody else.
Now it's going to be everybody except for me.
The rest of us just show up.
Well, that's true. We are the ones who just show. In fact, Jared probably does better because at least he matches good political T-shirts.
Well, it's just BPM. I just throw on my BPM gear.
Yeah. But
So
you have
it's
a lot
easy.
of. But you have a lot of.
I bought the shop out at the beginning, so I got like a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, it's great. It
Yes,
makes it
and-
easy. I don't have to think about it.
Everybody should follow Jared's lead, blackpowermedia.org. Get your spring BPM gear. I think they got the Ear Doctor BPM tank tops out there.
Oh
fellas.
wow.
We want to see
Sun's
those.
out, guns out.
That's right. So get them BPM tank tops. The Kamal Franklin thermal is about to go on sale.
By the
You
way,
know.
Kim, the link you sent, I see the story Kamal's pulling up here. The link you sent, the sound is off on that video. So the AP story has the channel's problem.
Isn't that interesting? Like what that shit? That's not Truman. That's fucking George W. Bush. That was in the 21st
Wow.
century. Why ain't no fucking sound on the clip? AP.
Wow.
Why ain't no sound on the clip? AP.
AP.
She said it's not Truman.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not an important president. It's not a real president.
And it just happened.
But I mean, technical difficulties, really? We don't have no sound from 2006 Associated Press. Is that what I'm supposed to believe? I don't.
Because
So
people are even in the
so-
comments saying there's no sound. Sorry, Kamal, go ahead.
Oh no. So just really quick, I wanted to again, and this may or may not be close to the point that Kim was making, unless we find some other evidence that shows that there was a direct support for Hamas. But again, closer to the memory that that I had was that George Bush. This part about being ignorant of, but George Bush helped Hamas come to power. Bush's naivete about the magic of elections. He ignored a crucial point about democracy. And basically it's saying that Bush supported the elections in the Palestinian territories. It was in January 2006 that the Palestinian territories held what turned out to be their last parliamentary elections. Hamas won a bare plurality of votes, 44%, to the more moderate Fatah's party, 41%. Read moderate as people who subdue their interest to the Israeli and Western war machine. But given the electoral system, a strong majority of seats, 75 to 45. Neither party was keen on sharing power. Well, Hamas won the election. So fighting broke out between the two. When a unity government was finally formed in 2007, the claim here is that Hamas broke the deal, started murdering Fatah members, and took control of the Gaza Strip. Again, that's not the story or history that I remember being told by Palestinians, that it was actually the Palestinian Authority that decided that they would not share power with Hamas. But anyway. So Hamas absolute rule in Gaza is not what the Palestinians voted for. Well, this article, I mean, I don't even want to read it anymore. But it says, why did the elections take place? The explanation lies in the political ideas, or more correctly, naivete of Bush. Bush entered the second term, convinced that this mission was to spread democracy around the world. Around that time, Israel was withdrawing from the Gaza Strip. And so basically what it's saying is that Bush supported the idea of elections, but did not expect Hamas to win the elections. Now, again, there was encouragement by the Israelis, and that means both the Israelis and the Americans, on Hamas existing and having some power, because it caused a split and or separation. And again, for their purposes, it was an excuse to say that they could not be any, quote, another excuse in trying to say that there should not be any two-state solution, because look, they can't even govern.
So I did not misremember. I actually remembered that kind of right.
Almost, except that you said that he supported Hamas in terms of the elections, or in terms of like publicly supporting. So they didn't publicly support Hamas.
I'm gonna do my diggings on the.
Let's come back tomorrow and see if we got.
I'm doing my diggings, because I remember thinking even not 806. I didn't have. barely had a concept of what was going on in Palestine. But I remember thinking, I remember somewhat knowing that Hamas was with the shits, right? I knew Hamas was with the shits. So when Conor Lingus and George Bush started saying, "Oh, this is a good election," I remember being like, "Really? y'all think so?" So anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find some actual documentation, some videos.
Well, look, it's 9:58. I don't know where the ear doctor is because he definitely owes us a mix.
Wow, old people now.
Yes.
All right.
Your price.
Yeah. So we're gonna rock out tomorrow. I won't be here.
Tomorrow?
Huh?
You gonna rock out?
Wait. Can I finish what I'm saying? He done unpopped this collar, Fonz over here. Listen, I'm just saying I'm gonna give you a little something, but what I'm saying is we're gonna be back tomorrow with some more Remix Morning Show. I won't be here, but all the ladies will be here. Maybe even Kamal with a new shirt.
Who's button pushing?
Excellent.
Jackie.
Yes,
man. Yes. Excellent question. Now, B Love, DJ B Love. I welcome you to come on Wednesdays and rock out and do the DJing.
So. Oh, that would be dope.
Yes. I mean, that's how I think.
Please follow up though, beyond just this public call out.
Yeah, you know I will. I already put out some.
That's what's
the back
up.
Single. All right, so we got some things coming up, y'all. So with that said, let's get up on out of here with a little mix right here as we look at this right here on the way out.
Deuces, everybody. Hey.
Let's go.
Now what the meaning of the line? Tell me. Well, it's like dreaming of your goals, ambitions. I'm feeling free. I'm on this mission to achieve. What's in your mind's eye? What you believe you should gain. Satisfaction become a shining example. Test this sample of a new race that has the amplitude of positivity. You mean flow? Well, like electricity. So you see a clear way with no ambiguity. Don't you know?
What's the meaning of life? What's the meaning? What's the meaning of life? Peace, y'all.